Hey everybody, welcome to Around the Twist, episode 244. It's April 13th, 2016, and if you hear heavy panting, that would be Phoebe, who's joining me on the couch today. Aren't you my old lady? Yeah. So, heavy breathing, it is this one. Let's see if I can get my setup here so you're not going to fall over on me. No, I think you're okay. Yes? I hope so, because that's where you're staying. So, first things first, what I have on my needles. Number one, I'm not as flustered as I was last week. I should be, but let's say I'm hiding it well. First thing on the needles is the Beck sweater. Pattern is Beck by Danny Sunshine. It's available on Ravelry. I'm knitting mine up in Rowan Felted Tweed. I think I've got... Yeah, let's just do that. Rowan Felted Tweed DK in the colorway 173 because the Rowan people are so imaginative with their colorways. However, the lovely people at Personal Threads back in Omaha, I believe on their website they refer to this as duck egg blue, which I love. It's got all these little darker and lighter and brown flecks through it, just kind of like a duck egg or a robin's egg would, only it's not that bright of a robin's egg blue. So, I'll confess, I did not knit on this at all the last 2 weeks until this morning. Welcome to my life. It's been crazy. We've had grandmas and grandpas and everyone coming in and out of the house, and work has been insane. And the big thing I talked about last week that is still a big thing, but I can't mention it really because I don't know if the big thing's going to pan out. And so, I knit on this morning. 2 weeks ago I had gotten the garter stitch neck done. This morning I got about 6 more rows done, and I'm knitting it on a US 6, which is a 4.0 millimeter needle. It is all kinds of discombobulated right now. This side looks a little higher than this one because I have just done the first short row. I'm starting on the plain rows following the short row. And we'll see where this is going, because I'm not really sure. It just looked like a basic yoke sweater, but they're having me do short rows in the yoke. And I'm like, okay, I'm going with it. I'm trusting the pattern. We'll see how this turns out. But it just had me do, you can kind of see it better if I flip it. Had me do a short row on this side where I went partway in, went back, then went partway back the other way, and went back. I'm going, why would you do a short row over a shoulder, but not the other shoulder? I mean, I don't know. Like I said, trusting the pattern. So yeah, my size 6 signature really isn't long enough to do magic loop, but I'm making it work. It's fine. I'm still on the first ball. I think I have like something like 13 or 14 balls of this yarn, so hopefully that will be enough. It should be more than enough. Daisy, can you please stay out of Phoebe's butt? All she did was jump off the couch, Munchkin. Sorry. Our schnauzer, I don't know, she follows Phoebe around and sniffs her butt all the time. Unless I tell her not to. Daisy, Daisy, Munchkin, come here. Come on. Come say hi. Come say hi. This one. I'm outing you as a butt sniffer. Yes. Yes. You're very sweet. But you need to stop sniffing Phoebe's butt. She is healthy, I promise. Okay, go. So, second thing I have on the needles are the Very Merry Unbirthday birthday socks. These are going to be my friend Sarah's birthday present this year. And I'm using, gosh, maybe I am discombobulated this week. I'm just kind of like, bleh. I know what it is. I've only had 1 cup of coffee. Hang on. Let me take care of that. Oh, I can't tell you the last time I had coffee that was this hot. With the twins running around, either I forget about it sitting on the Keurig or it sits on the end table and I don't get to it until half an hour later when it's not even lukewarm, but I drink it anyway because I need the caffeine. Oh, that's so good. Hot coffee. It's amazing. It's amazing. So The sock pattern I'm using is the zigzagular socks. These are done by Prairie Girl Designs, which is Susie White. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. So head over there. This is either my third or my fourth pair of these that I'm knitting, none of which have been for me, so I plan to remedy that in the near future. And last week I had one pattern repeat done, I believe. Well, I went back and looked because I did give Sarah a pair of these, not this last Christmas, but the Christmas before during my year where I disappeared. And I did 2 pattern repeats on the leg before I started the heel flap because Sarah likes shorter cuffs. I think for me, I'd do a 3rd pattern repeat because that would tack on about that much on the cuff, and that's about right for where I like the cuffs of my socks. But, so the pattern's the zigzagular socks. The yarn is Blue Moon Fiber Arts Socks That Rock Lightweight in what used to be a colorway, club colorway, so I'm not sure. You can probably get it on the website. I didn't bother to check. But the colorway is called Mad as a March Hare, which is, of course, a Alice in Wonderland reference. The Mad Hatter, the Tea Party. And I had said last week that I couldn't find my cable needle. So I found this little set of Lantern Moon, I believe they're ebony cable needles. I don't know where I got these from. But there were three different sizes. This was the smallest one, so I had that in here. And then for some reason, I was sitting at my computer the other night, and I looked down, and I have a little, like, divided plastic box. It's about yay big. That has pretty much all of my stitch markers in it, all the dangly ones that get in the way, but I still love them, so I don't want to get rid of them. Lo and behold, what do I see on top of it? My cable needle. Now this still isn't my Celtic Swan Forge ones. I still haven't found those. They are somewhere. I know they're somewhere because I would never have given those away. But this is more what I was looking for. This is just a basic Susan Bates U-shaped cable needle, but judging by the wear on the tips of it, this is probably the first cable needle I got when I started knitting and had to do cables in the ill-fated fisherman's sweater. Don't ask. Just don't ask. That's way, 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 way pre-podcast. But aside from that one pulled stitch at the top where I was trying to cable without a cable needle, I feel like the cable's coming out really well. It's popping. I love how it's looking in the yarn. And I am doing the 64 stitch size. The pattern does come, I believe, in 3 sizes. Double check for you somewhere in the pattern. Yes, pattern comes in 3 sizes, 56, a 64, and a 72, so you can adapt this to any weight of yarn, which is nice, or to your personal size preference for socks. I'm using a US 1.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter needle. I'm currently doing the left sock. They are mirrored socks, so the cables undulate opposite of one another, so they'll go in together and out together, and they're on the outer aspect of I'll pull out my medical jargon here, the lateral aspect of your metatarsals. So the outer part of your foot runs down the outside, kind of top outside of your leg and down the top outside edge of your foot. So there is a definite right and a definite left sock, which could cause problems if you like to flip socks around because they wear in a certain spot if you wear them the same on every foot. But in theory, I suppose you could flip them around if you want to. But according to the pattern, this is the left sock. So Sarah said these were some of her favorites that I had knit her. I believe in the last color that I knit her was for Christmas, and I think it was in the Courier and Ives colorway, again from Blue Moon Fiber Arts. And yeah, so those are coming along. I'm ready to start the heel flap. The other night I was like, I'm staying up until this is done. And I did. So, first leg done on the first sock. First leg. The leg of the first sock is done. Let's put it that way. And I have one new sock for you. I had asked hubby if he had wanted another pair of socks this year. I seem to knit him about 1 pair a year, roughly, because I'm knitting them on a finer gauge for him. I do knit them on a US 1. I'm not doing anything fancy. He doesn't really care if there's cables or not, so I'm like, okay. So I dug into the deep stash. I mean, this is deep stash. And got, I don't even know who I got this from. This might have been from String of Pearls back in Omaha, and String of Pearls has been closed for years. This is Osterman Steppe, which I'm not even sure if it's made anymore, I'll be honest. It's a German yarn. It's similar to Regia or Opal, except Osterman, their thing, their shtick, was that it included, the yarn contained aloe vera and jojoba oil, so that as you knit it conditioned your hands, and it's supposed to last for 10 washes or something like that. And it's, honestly, I've knit one other pair of socks out of this, which I didn't really care for. I didn't care for the yarn at the time. I was knitting it on double points, and I just wanted them done. The yarn looked prettier in the ball than it did knit up. But I needed a nice manly color, so these are I'm calling these my manly socks. The colorway is 0024. So there was no reference to that anywhere in Ravelry for the yarn. The descriptor on the tag that the store put on it was black/dark teal/blue. I have made it through one whole repeat. I did the cast on between where the blue started and the black, so the very cast on edge is in black, and I'm just starting the black. Now I have the black stripe done. So I have, sorry, everything's backlit, so to me everything looks dark except for that gray stripe. So there's blue, there's dark teal, there's the gray, and then there's black. The little speckles you see throughout the gray are actually through all of them. I don't know, can you see them in the green? I can, in the green and the black. They're very hard to see, but there are black speckles kind of scattered throughout the whole thing. And hopefully hubby likes them. He'll be able to see everything except the dark teal, since he's red-green colorblind. And I'm knitting them up on a US 1, a 2.25mm needle, magic looping. This is a hot mess because I took it to a work meeting that I had yesterday and then just threw it in my purse when the meeting was over because I wanted to get out of there. So, yeah. That's everything that I'm currently knitting, or that has been knit on in the last week, I should say. I've only done a very little bit of stuff of cross stitch for pokey things. Let's grab some more coffee before we keep going. Oh, I forgot to say, it's Mango Island this week. I wanted something summery. I've been drinking a lot of the carrot cake, the caramel apple, the caramel banana, all very fall flavors to me, so I wanted something a little more summery. So, the only cross stitch I did was yesterday, actually. This is why I gave the little spiel at the beginning about how we've had, well, my parents came, and then 2 days later, hubby's mom came out to help watch the kids because our nanny was out of town for the weekend, and we had a work weekend in there, and I haven't had, or the days that I have been home and someone else has been here to watch the kids, I've spent their whole nap time cooking or doing something else, getting things done around the house. So yesterday was my only cross stitch time that I had. I'm still working on July Thumbelina for the Once Upon a Time sampler. This is from Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. And all that I managed to finish yesterday during nap time were the wings, the little antenna ends on and the eye on the butterfly. And that's it. And that's actually really sad, but when my cross stitch is restricted to nap time, which is why I started the hashtag naptime needleworker over on Instagram, if you're still over there. I see it kind of, not necessarily just for moms that have little kids that can only stitch or knit or crochet or anything during nap time, but anyone that it could be downtime from your job. It's like, yeah, I'm a naptime needleworker because I'm stepping away from everything else to focus on me, to focus on my craft, because that's a big part of me, and I feel like it's been diminishing lately, and I don't like that. So join me, please. You don't have to be a mom or a grandma or anybody watching small children to be in it. It can be just, hey, I'm taking my 15-minute break at work and kicking back. Nap time needleworker. Hashtag it. So I can follow you over on Instagram. Please feel free to follow me. I believe I'm, what am I? I think it's Alcariel23 if I remember right. I'm not even going to look it up right now. So yeah, that's it for my week of crafting. It's kind of sad, but various and sundry. I do have one upcoming event. It is the Estes Park Wool Market, June 9th through the 12th. I will definitely be there on Saturday, hopefully with the family in tow. Come up, say hi. I didn't find the buttons to hand out at Interweave Yarn Fest, but I'll hopefully dig through the craft room and find them by then. And so since this is a shorter show, I thought we'd do a couple of any questions. So, okay, first thing from Corinne. She had a kind of a, what is it when you ask a question, don't really expect an answer? Oh my gosh, I know this. Okay, whatever that is. So, she asked herself how she was not already a member of the group. So thank you, Corinne, for finally joining the group. Yay! She wants to know, how do your coworkers react to you having a podcast, or do they know? So some of my coworkers know. More of my coworkers at my last job back in Omaha knew about my show than the ones here, but I was also able to knit on the job a lot more at my last job, so it came up in conversation more often. Here. That's not really an option for me. So fewer know, but there are a few that know, and I've managed to meet a couple of knitters that way. I've managed to make a couple of knitters that way. And they're like, really? You record? And then they kind of want to know what the show is about if I teach. And I'm like, no, not really. It's more like a video blog. I show the progress I make each week. That's kind of it. And yeah. So there you go. They don't really react. The ones at my last job thought it was kind of cool. The ones here, the few that know, think it's kind of cool, and the other ones, I've had a few go, really? Knitting? Like, they don't see me doing that. And then I wave my geek flag proudly and tell them, well, I'm not just a knitter, I'm also a crocheter and a spinner and a cross-stitcher. And then that firmly settles me in their minds, in their biased minds, into the grandma category. Geeky dweeb nerd, you're over there. So, meh. Corinne also wanted to know, you referenced this knitting while children are awake concept, and I'd like to know more about it. She also has a 2.5-year-old, and she's generally running around after her too much, or she wants in her lap, or anything. Is it a function of having twins? A little bit. I am able to pull out simple things. Like, I wouldn't dare pull out the cross stitch while the twins are awake. I wouldn't, nothing involved. Like, knitting on the sweater this morning, there was a lot of plain rows where I could just go. So if you're going to knit while small ones are awake, I'd say nothing you have to concentrate on, nothing that requires you to have a chart on your lap. I wouldn't dare pull out something like lace. I wouldn't have dared do the even star or any lace weight shawl, any lace weight thing really at all, because little fingers get into holes and pull, and yeah. My thing I'm more doing is the knit while they nap versus knit while they're awake, or crochet, cross stitch, blah, 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 blah. I don't do the crochet snowflakes while the twins are awake either, because that's something I have to concentrate on, and I have to have the pattern book in front of me. So either there has to be another adult or someone else to distract the kids in the house. I also have the advantage of having twins, so automatic playmates. So they're playing with each other, they're playing with the dogs, and I can kick back with a simple sock or something stockinette in the round and just go. So that's how I'm able to get stuff done. Corinne, I hope that answers your questions. And then T-Bird0123 said, when you shared your craft room plans, you mentioned a sewing area. Is that for quilting, kids' clothes? What's it for? Basically, because I know how to sew, I want to sew, and I don't necessarily have the time for that right now. The plans I'd like to get into quilting a little bit. I don't want to end up hugely invested in it, but I do have a couple of books that like to do jelly roll quilts that I'd like to make. I don't have the fabric or supplies or anything for that, don't be alarmed. And also for clothing, I've got a few, let me put it this way, I'm very long-limbed, as I'm sure I've mentioned before, legs as well as arms, and pajamas don't fit me. And my mom used to make me flannel pajamas back when I was in college, and I love those, but I'm also 12 years out of college, and the flannel has worn and gotten very threadbare, and one pair of pajama pants has died, another pair of just regular cotton pajama pants in a VeggieTales print that I loved also got very threadbare and died. So I'd like to kind of do that. I also got fabric last summer at SSK. Went out to a fabric store that was closing with Susan from Desert Vista Dye Works and Kate, Irish Diva. We went on a little like yarn fabric shop crawl around Nashville one day. And I got Tara what's going to turn into 2 dresses for her. But the dresses are reversible. So I need to get going on those before she outgrows the amount of fabric that I bought for her. I'd like her to wear them this summer. But that means I need a sewing table. Well, hubby went to IKEA last week and got me a sewing table. So I have a table in the craft room. Yay! That does not mean the craft room is done. Not even close. Not even close. But there is a table in there, and I could, in theory, set up my sewing machine and get that going. So, let's see. I think we have time for one more. Yes. Let me mark these so I remember. So Fifikins said, I met your adorable mom at the Zombie Knitpocalypse in 2014. I can see what amazing influence she's had on your crafting life. What is your first fibercraft memory with your mom, and will you be encouraging Gabe and Tara to investigate fibercraft when they are a little older? First thing I remember is going with my mom to her knitting circle. I was born on Knitting Circle Tuesday. Evidently the ladies, this was way before HIPAA was ever in effect. All the knitting ladies, when mom didn't turn up for knitting circle, they kept calling the hospital wondering if I had been born yet. So I was kind of ingrained in fiber, not necessarily the knitting, but any fiber craft, any craft thing has kind of been ingrained in me between my grandmothers, my mom, and all those wonderful ladies that I knew growing up. They really influenced me. I remember dragging my little rocking chair into the center of the big circle of women and pulling out whatever. I had like a little Barbie loom knitting thing to make Barbie like a little sparkly hot pink and black mini dress. And even if it was, I remember being 2 or 3 and having the cardboard cards that you'd take, it was almost like a shoelace, and you'd sew the edges together, and you weren't sewing, you were just weaving the shoelace through the holes. But I remember doing that over and over for hours. And these women were just, they were like adopted grandmothers to me. So that's where that came from. Will I be encouraging Gabe and Tara to investigate fibercraft when they're a little older? Oh yes, absolutely. Anything crafty. It doesn't necessarily have to be knitting, it doesn't necessarily have to be cross-stitch, it doesn't. But if they express an interest, I'm going to encourage that interest. The most interest I've had so far is they'll wait until I'm out of the room and then pull a knitting bag down and pull everything out and unravel a ton of yarn. Luckily they haven't pulled needles out yet, but I'll have a ton of yarn to rewind back onto the ball. But that's been their investigation so far. So yeah, I think that's going to be it for this week. Hopefully I'll have a little more to show you guys next week, but until then, happy knitting.